Well, still on the rising initiation school deaths this summer season, I'm joined now by the Secretary General of Contralesa, the Congress of South African Traditional Leaders, Zolani Mkiva. Mr. Mkiva, very good evening to you. Welcome to News at Prime. So, according to the CRL Commission today, the highest number of deaths at these illegal initiation schools in the Eastern Cape is in the OR Tambo and Alfred Nzo districts. I wonder then, from your understanding, if this is a coincidence or if there's something more sinister going on in that part of the Eastern Cape.
Well, that is the part, that has been a hotspot area for the deaths and fatalities that are happening in the traditional initiation school. And there's a historical reason to that, but more importantly, what makes this to happen from year to year is the fact that the conduct of the bogus initiation school is that of human trafficking. It's people who are driven by money, and they use and compromise the lives of young boys that are innocent, who are not aware of what is going to happen to them, and it is being done by people who just fiddle with a ritual that they do not know how it is conducted. And as a result, we are sitting with this devastating news, which is really a disaster for the country and the nation. And we feel so much ashamed as the institution of traditional leadership, because this is a national ritual, a very important ritual, which has now been compromised because some people have brutally exploited it in order to make money. But more than that, the loss of life of 34 children is something that is totally unacceptable, unwarranted, and it should not be happening.
I hear your condemnation. The CRL in its briefing today said the custodians of this rite of passage, being yourselves as traditional leaders and government, need to do more to bring the perpetrators to account. What have you actually done as Contralesa to achieve that?
Well, we are in full agreement with that view. In fact, we have expressed that view several times, that what needs to happen is a need now to come up with an intervention so that the manner in which we conduct the initiation season, it is manned by full-time personnel who are going to be there to monitor, but also an integration of medically trained professionals who have gone through the initiation themselves, so that there are no contradictions insofar as exposing a ritual which has got an element of sacredness to people that have not gone through it. So we are quite open-minded. We are not being conservative, and we are saying that both those that are talented organically must work with those that are trained medically, so that we can have a death-free initiation season going forward. And we are in full agreement that there has been a number of arrests. So we are also calling on the law enforcement agencies to make sure that we have convictions, and those that have been found to have really committed this crime, which is murderous, they must be jailed and rot in prison for many years for having done this. If we don't make that example, then people are going to continue to take chances and do this thing behind the back of the society. And we have to take a responsibility, because ultimately we are the custodian of these traditions. We are not pointing fingers to anybody, but we do know where the problem is. We are saying that with all the parties that should be involved, let's put our hands on the deck, the Department of Health, COGTA, police, as well as the institution of traditional. Let's work together and ensure that we alleviate this thing once and for all. And I dare say this, we need to formalize and institutionalize the initiation seasons, so that we treat them as though it's a full-time measure come that period in the year. It can't be done on ad hoc basis, because when you do it that way, you create gaps, and therefore those thugs find those gaps and use them to their benefit, and that's how our children are lost through those fault lines.
You talk about how you are seeing, for example, you've seen arrests yourselves, but you've not seen prosecutions necessarily. How many people do you know of who've actually been charged?
Well, it's very few, actually, and I have only heard of convictions. I think I know only about 3 in the Eastern Cape of those convictions. And even the sentences that were meted against those people were actually less than candid, as far as I'm concerned. So I am saying that I think we need to do more We want to appeal to the justice system of the country to assist us in this regard. Because this is not just human trafficking, it is murder. People who have done this must be charged of murder, because it is the first degree of murder when 34 human beings actually pass on as a result of a conduct of a people who do a criminality in the form of human trafficking, as I have indicated.
Something else that struck me from the CRL briefing today, which the Commission itself said was unacceptable, they said that it was unacceptable that they were told that a change in municipal leadership compromised the support given during the initiation period. Were you aware of such an explanation before today's briefing, and where would it have come from?
It's a great possibility for that to occur. As we say that unless we institutionalize, the initiation schools, then we will always be found wanting when there's a change of guard, because it is treated as a part-time and an ad hoc kind of a measure. So we are saying that a season only occurs only for 2 to 3 months. During that period, if we were to have full-time people working there, coming from all the respected stakeholder areas, then it would make it so efficient and effective to conduct a debt-free initiation season. So a mere change of guard from municipality, because there are no budgets which are dispensed to traditional authorities for them to be able to monitor with resources that are required. So we are partly dependent on local government as well as provincial governments in so far as doing that kind of work. If then there is a change of guard and that creates confusion, it makes it difficult for certain things to occur. So that's why we're making a call as Contralesa that capacitate the institution of traditional leadership with resources, so that even on their own, they could have, so much at their hand.
We're running out of time,
be able to...
Mr. Mkiva, but I'd like to raise an issue with you that I raised with the Deputy Minister for Cooperative Governance this week here on the program, and that's that when we have the conversation about legislation and the jailing of people who run illegal initiation schools, it appears at this stage that these schools are only ever detected when tragedy strikes, when young men are maimed or, in the worst case, even dead. How do we get to a point where they're found out and the people are arrested before someone's son is lying cold in a morgue?
Well, if we were to have proper plans, and then every time we're going to have the initiation season, we ensure that everything is done formally prior to the season beginning, so that we don't have a hush-hush kind of a situation. So there's no proper planning, as I say, because of the fact that there isn't a concerted, focused approach in this, wherein there is a dedicated workforce and dedicated budget, as well as a plan which must be dispensed in order to ensure that we prevent any fatality from happening. So I wouldn't be surprised that you would have got that kind of a communique coming from that end.
Zolani Mkiva, Secretary General of the Congress of Traditional Leaders here in South Africa. Good to speak to you, sir. Thank you. Hopefully the next year brings better news.